This is the Healthy Business Podcast, the show for ambitious business owners who want to grow and scale in a healthy way. I'm Sarah Cook, and I'll be sharing with you tips, inspiration, and proven methods from leading business experts, entrepreneurs, and health and wellness professionals to help you grow your business with more income and having more impact, but in a way that works for you. Because when you have clarity and strategy, you can achieve the results you want. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Sarah Cook and I am joined by the wonderful Alice Bradshaw today. And we're going to be talking about how we can support anxiety through EFT and tapping. But before we delve into what all of that means, hello, Alice. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I'm super excited. I think it's a really brilliant topic and one that's really relevant to this time of year where Christmas has just happened and we're kickstarting the new year, but sometimes it can kind of bring forward some different feelings for us, or feelings of overwhelm, feelings of anxiety. And even when we talk about anxiety, some people don't necessarily realize they have anxiety and that kind of hidden anxiety that might be going on for them, especially when there's, lots of pressures. It's this time of year where it's still dark and dank outside, but really important conversation to have. Before we get into that, which might kind of lead us into things, one question that I always ask my guests on this show is, what does a healthy business mean to you?
Well, I think for me, health is all about flow. So when I'm working with EFT tapping, I'm working with the traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points and meridians or energy channels. And basically, if there's something stuck, then you have pain, whether it's physical pain or illness of some kind, or mental, emotional pain like anxiety or anger. So that kind of plays into all of my life, really. I want to have flow. So I don't want to get stuck doing something that doesn't work. I want to change it. And I don't want to be attached to something that does work, because there might be something better that I could do, or some little tweak that I could make. So I like to just keep space around everything and keep a sense of flow, I think.
I love that description. I think it's so important. I think sometimes we miss that as well, as business owners, especially, where we're constantly in the what can sometimes feel overwhelm, or the hustle, or busyness of running a business when we've got all of these different hats that we're wearing, but actually recognizing why we're doing it. And one phrase that you use there that I love is that just because it's going well doesn't mean it can't be done better. And I love that. That's such a kind of real growth opportunity seeking, solution focused way of looking at business. And that really does play into that healthy business, that one that is growing, the one that's scaling, and not feeling like you personally are limited, or even your business is limited. But we need to be open to that and I think one of the things that we need to do is being really aware of ourselves and our capacity energetically, but also what our business can allow as well, so that we can have that grow. And that all comes back to flow. I love it. So good. It's almost a perfect segue into what we're going to be talking about today. And because if we have if we are feeling blocked by worry, or, even sort of that overwhelm, that can then play out into how we seek opportunities or have that growth within our business as well. One of the things that I want to touch on before we really delve into kind of how we can support people around it is anxiety. And before we came live, we were kind of talking about how actually a lot of people don't realize that they have anxiety, or our bodies have just found a way of coping. And it's not until something physical might come up that we then see that impact. What are the sort of the classic signs of, anxiety that our listeners kind of might think, oh, actually that might be me. I don't know.
Well, there are a huge number of different manifestations. And like you said, we can often get so used to it that it feels normal. And when we get stuck in our ways, and it can feel scary to let go of that. But one thing that most people with anxiety have is a tendency to overthink. So they'll have a busy mind all the time. What if this? What if that? What will I do if this? Worrying about something that might happen or that might not happen. Very often it's about things that won't even happen. And not being in the present moment and grounded. So that shows up in things like insomnia. If we're ruminating too much at nighttime and then we can't sleep, or it can often come up as digestive issues, because of course the whole body is connected, and there's the polyvagal nerve which goes down into the gut. And so if one part of us is feeling anxious in our mind or in our tension in our breathing, then it will go down into the gut as well, and we'll get irritable bowel syndrome, things like that. So lots of my clients with anxiety have digestive problems, or it can be something more external, like emotional eating, where you're just constantly reaching for stuff to fill yourself up with and distract yourself, and those little moments of escapism to distract yourself from the worries that are going on in your head. So it can show up in a number of different ways for different people.
And I guess, again, kind of perfect time to be talking about this, where, you know, our dietary habits might have changed over the Christmas period, or we've been socializing or felt that kind of need to socialize when actually we didn't want to, or done more of it than we've normally done. And actually the kind of the link between the gut as well as the kind of our mindset and our anxiety levels, it works both ways, doesn't it? Because if we're anxious, then that can play a part on our digestive issues and our digestive, how quickly things work through. But also, if we've changed what we're eating, that can then have an impact back on how we feel about things. And I think there's it's a hidden link, because obviously it takes part inside us that we don't actually necessarily see that or relate it directly to what we're eating, drinking, can play a part on how we feel. But it's such a huge thing. And then thinking about, if that's not working in alignment for us, how can we be in that flow state that you were talking about earlier around that healthy, growing business? How would people, I mean, we've talked about some kind of classic signs there. What is, how do people kind of move forward from that and kind of go, okay, oh gosh, maybe some of these things are relevant for me? What are some kind of classic things that people could kind of turn to start helping them support through that?
Again, there are a number of different things. Something as simple as going for a walk in nature more regularly can help a lot of people, because it's calming to be among the trees and you feel grounded, and it's relaxing, the motion of walking. But some people find that boring. So maybe for them, it would be jogging or going to a dance class. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, I'm a practitioner of EFT tapping. So I really enjoy those somatic techniques, the body-based techniques such as tapping, which involve calming your body and your physiology, so that you don't have to be stuck in your head and at the mercy of your rising heart rate and all this kind of physiological response to stress, which may be an imagined stress that hasn't happened yet. You're muted there, Sarah.
Thanks. It goes back to what we were saying of the how we quite often worry about things that are out of our control or that aren't necessarily going to happen. And I think over the last few years, we've almost been conditioned into that a little bit as well. And the world has shifted so much that, we didn't know what was going to happen. We were making plans and then they were being cancelled, and, and that's all out of our control, but we still had that constant kind of worry about things. And I think it's created a new normal as to how we feel about things and what we should be worrying about or what we should be focusing on. And that can take us into a really tricky space if we don't know how to release some of those things, or if we don't know what to focus on. Tell me a little bit more about EFT, because that is your expertise, and, how it works. And, tell me a little bit more about it, how you got into it as well.
Sure. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And it's a method of tapping on acupressure points on the face and the body and the hands, whilst talking or thinking or focusing on something that you find stressful. So it could be a worry about the future, or it could be something traumatic in your past, or something that's happening right now. And I got into it because I've always been interested in complementary therapies, especially in therapies which use traditional Chinese medicine meridians or energy channels. I just stumbled across it, and that was my thing. That was it. I'd learned lots of different things, Reiki and a touch for health, kinesiology system, and they were nice, but they weren't anything that I really wanted to do. But EFT was it. And the way it works, there's the woo-woo explanation, and there's the scientific explanation. So in terms of energy, when you're tapping on the points, you move stuck energy, as I mentioned earlier. And when you move stuck energy in your meridians or energy channels, then that promotes health and well-being, both mental and physical. And in terms of the science, there's really quite a lot of scientific evidence now. It's on the brink of being approved in various countries for use by conventional health therapists. And one of the things that it does is that it calms the brain. It calms the amygdala in the brain, which is your fight or flight center. So when you tap on the points whilst thinking about something that you find stressful, it's telling your brain that thinking about this stressful thing, you can be calm. And another way that it works is that it changes your brain waves. So again, they've done scientific experiments linking up people to, I always forget what they're called, those things that they put around your head to measure your brain waves. Anyway, so while you're tapping, your brain waves change so that the beta brain waves, which are the fast ones that we use when we're thinking and talking and in our waking state, they go right down until they're almost invisible. And it's the other brain waves, the long ones, alpha and delta, which are normally only active in meditation or deep sleep or other altered states like hypnosis. They come into the foreground. So what that means is that instead of thinking about a problem over and over and over in your thinking mind and not getting anywhere with it, you're getting a fresh insight. It's a bit like when you go to bed thinking about a problem and then you wake up in the morning and you suddenly know what the answer is. That's because your brain has been in those different brainwave states and it's been able to find some other solution. So with EFT, you can do that consciously.
It's amazing. I love the science behind it and just having a really simple tool that can completely change how you feel about things. But again, finding those solutions as well, as you say, having those problems that come up for you and going, okay, I've got this toolbox that can actually really help me, whether it's just to feel calm in that moment or whether it's this problem that you've been kind of overthinking. And our conscious state versus our sort of more subconscious state, I guess, with the alpha and delta waves is just really, that's going to help you take through. And it's something that I've been spending much more time in the last year of just really looking at ways, because as you grow, as you scale your business, there's always so many different ways that you can do that, but knowing which one feels aligned to you, you have to literally tap into how you're feeling about that as well. And getting your brain space into those places of calm. If we are constantly on the go, if we're constantly working in our business, juggling family, juggling everything else outside of business as well, it can be really hard to navigate through what those next steps can be and what potential solutions are available to us. And that's when it feels overwhelming. That's when it feels, kind of hard. And it doesn't have to be like that. And actually, I love that what you're saying is that, it can be really simple. We can have these really simple tools that we can do that don't take a huge amount of time, that can just allow us to move much more back into that flow state again.
That's right. And there's a lot you can do with EFT by yourself, but as a tool for self-help, especially as you say, in the moment. It's really good for calming in the moment. When you have a difficult phone call or somebody bumps into you in the supermarket and is really rude, or those little day-to-day things which can really upset your day and make you feel off. EFT is a really good way just to quickly calm that down, and then you can feel yourself again.
And does that apply to, when we're having those kind of emotional eating triggers as well, that we can use that in a similar way? Because that's something that you brought up earlier as one of the ways it sort of manifests itself from a stress and anxiety perspective.
Yes, it can be. Some people can manage their emotional eating completely by themselves with EFT. For other people, it takes a bit more digging deep to get to the root issues, but it's certainly a good starting point to the first thing is, can you actually pause long enough before you pop that chocolate in your mouth to think, oh, I better do some tapping? That's the first thing, is pausing. So what I sometimes suggest to people is to put a little post-it note on the fridge or on the cupboard, that just to remind yourself to do the tapping. And it's not that you can't have that food. It's you don't want to tell your brain that you can't have it, because then you'll want it even more. Yeah. But you're telling your brain that before I eat that food, I'm going to tap. And then after you've tapped, you might not want it, or you might not want as much. You might only eat one biscuit instead of the whole packet, or you might reach for something healthier in the fridge than whatever it was you were going for. So yes, it's certainly a good starting point.
And so for people, obviously, they can kind of do those things in the moment. To get to that sort of inner, more deeper root cause, as you said, to really understand what is going on or why these kind of feelings are coming up, that's where you come in from a kind of a more of a practitioner perspective. Tell us a little bit more about that process of what it is like to work with someone like you, because I think, you know, there is a nervousness when people are looking at different, they know they might be, you know, might recognize some of those classic signs of anxiety that we were talking about earlier. And then thinking, okay, well, you know, working with a practitioner sounds brilliant, but actually I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit nervous about what might come up for me. How do you work with people, and what can people sort of, I suppose, expect to come up or not come up?
Well, first of all, EFT is such a gentle technique. There's absolutely no need to be scared, because one of the great things that I love about EFT is that you don't have to re-traumatize yourself by telling the whole story of whatever that bad thing was that happened. You can do it that way, but if it's too much, you don't have to. And it's a really good way to kind of sneak up on things and work from the starting point of now, so that you don't always have to go back to all that old stuff. Usually I end up with clients working from what's going on now, and then that reminds them of something in the past. So, for example, if somebody's, to go back to the eating example, if somebody's having trouble giving up, say, chocolate, usually there's some memories in their past. So usually chocolate was a reward, you know, or it was a treat at Christmas or birthdays. Or in my own case, with cake, my mum used to make cakes for me when I came home from school because she knew that I didn't like the school lunches. And so for me, that was always associated with my mum did something special for me because she loves me, and it tastes really good because I'm so hungry. And it was just that whole atmosphere was all linked in for me. So that was one of the things that was difficult for me to give up cakes. It's that distinguishing between the actual food and what it represents to you. And sometimes it's very difficult to see that by yourself. You need the objectivity of somebody else to see that. And especially with a practitioner who knows the type of things that people often go through, they're much more likely to spot it and point it out to you. And once you've seen it, it's so clear, but you would never have seen it for yourself. And it's the same with other things. I mean, with anxiety, there's always some kind of root cause for the anxiety, which may be buried under many layers of things, or it may not be obvious. You might think, oh, that was just such a stupid little incident when I was a child, and you know, now obviously it's not a big trauma to stand up in front of the class and you know, and my teacher asked me to say something and I messed up the words and everybody laughed. As an adult, that seems really small, but as a child, it was so huge, and you felt so bad about it that in itself is like a mini trauma. And so working with a practitioner, they will see what things you need to tap on, because when we access it with the words, that's when we're telling our brain, this is the stressor that I'm working with right now. This memory is what I'm targeting with the calming effect of the tapping.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because I think there's so many things that our brains, our bodies hold on to that we as an adult feel is insignificant when we look backwards, but actually that has played. And I think, you know, that word trauma, it almost brings up, it's almost too big a word for actually what it can be associated with. It can be something small. It can be, you know, even as you say, just those examples of someone, you know, bumping into you in the supermarket, or a little comment that's made that's a side comment, but that triggers us in a certain way. That trigger is a version of trauma because our body is responding to it. And I think, you know, trauma doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be that everyday thing, or it can be something that, as you say, is years and years ago that is still brings up an emotional response for us in some way. And if we are wanting to, you know, move forward from things, and we're wanting to, you know, live life and have businesses that are in flow, we need to be able to have that awareness, but then actually know how to kind of move forward from those. I mean, we've both done work around this, and kind of there's been things that, you know, your cake example, and there's been lots of things that have kind of come up for me, and just thinking, oh my goodness, I had no idea that I was holding on to that, and didn't even realize that was part of that something, but it holds you back. And, you know, you might be getting to a point and going, well, there's a reason that I'm not doing this, and I can't put on, I can't put my finger on what that is. And quite often it is something that is hidden under all of those different layers that then, has just been there for so long that just kind of, it plays out and holding us back, which can feel even more frustrating, can't it?
Yes, that's right. And I always think it's like giving yourself a massage. So you can put your hand on your shoulder and give yourself a bit of a squeeze and massage some of the tension out of your shoulders, and that might feel good. But is that the same as lying down for an hour, being completely relaxed and having somebody else get into all those difficult to access bits? Not at all the same. It's not at all the same. And it's the same with working with a practitioner. The practitioner will be able to get to those little hard to find bits. And so although tapping for self-help can get you so far, and it does feel good and it will calm you down, it's not nearly as effective as working with a practitioner.
Yeah, it's the same as everything, isn't it? In this
Yeah,
wonderful
exactly.
kind of easy access world of Google, like we can search anything, but actually having someone who tailors that information or that service to you and to your current situation, that's what's going to help you get to that next level or clear whatever it is that needs clearing. And I totally appreciate your example there of from a massage, having been in that world myself many years ago.
Right.
And I would often find that people would come and say, I've got, my neck and shoulders are tight. And then we'd actually realize that it was referred pain from somewhere else in their body, or there was, something else that was going on from the anxiety side of things. It's one of the reasons that I trained in positive psychology, because of just having that link of the body and mind, or, as the gut that you were talking about earlier. Everything is so intrinsic. And if we just focus on the symptom, then that's great. At least you're focusing on that. But actually, there's a reason that symptom has manifested itself, and that version of pain, whatever that looks like, or that, emotional eating, all the different examples that we've been using. There's a reason that has come to the forefront, and it's quite often not what we're expecting it to be. And that qualified expert practitioner, they can get to the root cause because they know where those, that's the reason they've qualified, is to see on all of those different levels where that's coming from and help you clear that. I love all this stuff. It's so important. And I think one of the key things that, especially business owners, they miss that because they're so focused on getting the results that they're looking for within their business, that actually, we are our biggest assets, and we need to look after ourselves to be able to fuel the success of our businesses as well. And that sort of physical, emotional, spiritual, mental side of things is the game changer for so many people achieving that next level of success in whatever that looks like, whether that's life, whether that's business, or with even, weight loss, as we keep using the sort of that example as well. But there are generally reasons why these symptoms are coming up for people. And this, I guess I want to say and share that this episode isn't meant to be kind of preachy at all. It's more a way of just recognizing, having that awareness, stepping into that space of going, okay, these things are starting to kind of, pull up, and, maybe they are triggering slightly, but actually, in some ways, if it is triggering, I'm really grateful that it is triggering, because there's something going on that is holding you back from that next level of success. And that's what we're all about. And that's why I love having these conversations, because you don't have to stay stuck where you are, and moving through those different things and navigating, having that toolbox, working with practitioners like you, Alice, that's what's going to help you get to that next phase and back into flow again. Where can people find you if they're like, this sounds so interesting? Where can people kind of reach out to you and really understand that energy system?
So I have a YouTube channel with lots of videos which are great for a self-help starter. And there's also my Facebook group, which I've just renamed it Anxiety Tapping. So it's all about anxiety, and not only tapping, but mostly tapping techniques and other somatic body-based techniques. And of course, you can always visit my website as well, tapwithalice.com. And yeah, it'd be great to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely go and check Alice out. She's awesome with all this stuff. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, if you have time, is that you've recently, or not that recently anymore, but you've been recently working with Qigong. And I know this is kind of a new term for many people. And I want to explore this a little bit about how it, I guess, complements EFT, but also what it is and how it works, because it is different. And I think, again, it's another holistic support tool that we can use, that we can, really utilize to help us move forward. So tell us a little bit about Qigong.
Yes. So Qigong is another technique based on, well, it is a Chinese technique rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, and it's a standing practice involving flowing, gentle movements, and also standing positions, combined with breathing and intention. So when we put all of that together, it looks a little bit like Tai Chi, which most people are more familiar with, but it's not as complex as Tai Chi. It's simpler movements. And yes, as you say, I'm currently training to be a Qigong teacher. I'm already teaching, actually, but it obviously it goes with EFT because we're using the same system, we're using the same meridians, the same energy channels, and it's just another way to increase that flow in the body, which in turn affects the heart and mind and emotions as well. So Qigong is a very calming but also energizing practice. So it's not like some yoga classes where at the end you feel very, very calm and relaxed. It's more of a balancing practice with the yin and the yang. So it is calming. And if you need to calm down and calm those anxious, overthinking thoughts in your head, it is very calming, but also at the same time, it can be energizing. So for people who are feeling dull, or people struggling with depression, it can also be uplifting. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and Qigong is one of my great loves of my life at the moment, even more than yoga. So yeah.
Amazing. And sounds like it really complements EFT as well. It just, works in a different way, but
Yes.
allows you to energize as well as feel calm, and just pulling that together of just having those practices in your everyday that allow you to, and your body to have what they need to at the time that they need it to.
Yeah, it's another tool in the toolbox. So, I mean, I love EFT, but of course, we all know that no one tool is great for everyone. So maybe Qigong is your tool, or, people like different things. And it does complement EFT, both on the emotional side, because each of the meridians or energy channels is related to specific emotions. And it's really interesting to see the interplay between the two practices.
Amazing. And I would love to hear, I mean, you're obviously a business owner yourself. How do you use some of these tools to help you grow your business?
Yeah. Okay. So I've used EFT a lot with my business. And I haven't used Qigong specifically. It's more of just a practice that I do every day for my general well-being. But EFT I've used specifically, as I think I mentioned to you, Sarah, because you've been one of my marketing mentors. So yes, to target my dislike of marketing, I used EFT, and I must say it's been quite successful. I don't hate marketing anymore. I've just come to terms with it, and I've released that block, because if you hate marketing but yet you have to do it because otherwise nobody will know about you, I mean, clearly that's not going to work. That's not flow. So I was able to find a way to make peace with that, and to enjoy not all of marketing, but parts of it, and also things like with money mindset. It's I've used EFT for money blocks, and thinking, oh, I shouldn't charge that much. Well, why shouldn't I charge that much? Where is that coming from? Where did that belief come from? Is it that I'm not good enough? Is it that other people are doing it better than me? Is it, for me, it was, well, my teacher doesn't, my EFT teacher doesn't charge this much. So who am I to charge that much? But actually, she's undercharging. So that these are some of the things that can release blocks in your business. And I mean, I'm all about the energy, and money is just energy.
Yeah.
And a business is energy. There's a flow there, and if there's a block in one area of your emotions, or your thoughts, or your history, then that will come out in your business. So if you can fix all of that, then everything will flow better.
Absolutely. Oh, I love those real-time examples of how you've utilized it in your business. And yeah, I mean, you've gone from strength to strength from a marketing perspective. And I always say, you can have the best marketing strategy, which I can support you on. But actually, if you don't believe in it, if you're not, going to take action on it, then that's not going to work. And then that plays out in your business as well. And it is really important from to have that healthy mindset, but also I think as part of that, having a healthy mindset is always being aware of where there are those potential blocks. And as you say, clearing them through, taking action to move things through so that you are in a position to, whether it's increasing your prices or investing in that next thing that is going to help you, or getting more visible, because as you say, people need to know about you to be able to buy from you. And they are real, everyday, and fundamental kind of things for our business to take them to the next level. So yeah, it has such a huge impact on not just our emotional well-being, but also the success of our business. And that's really why I wanted to kind of bring you onto the show as well, just to explain how this isn't just about, your health and wellness or your mental health or even anxiety. It is actually about bringing those and having those toolboxes that can take you to that next level in life and in business, so that you can get back to and spend more of your time in flow, because that's what it's all about. That's why we do it. That's life, isn't it? We want to enjoy life. And it's really important that we can do that. Any parting words of wisdom that you would like to share to our listeners? It's been a brilliant conversation, and hopefully our listeners have gained a lot of knowledge from it as well.
Well, yeah, I'd just like to reiterate what you said just there, that flow is enjoyable and being stuck isn't. So find a way to be in flow and enjoy it, whatever it is you're doing.
I love that. What a great place to end. Thank you so much for joining me, Alice. It's been wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. So go and check Alice out, go and find her. We'll get all of the details into the show notes as well. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for listening to the Healthy Business Podcast. To get your free checklist with 1-minute hacks to accelerate your business and find out more about our community, head to my website, sarahcookmarketing.com/healthybusiness.